Hi, everyone. I'm Renee Southam Reed. This is my adorable 19-year-old boy who's in college. I love art. I'm a second grade teacher. And this is a one of three sisters with my adorable niece. And this is There's No Tired Like COVID Tired. This is me all year. Should look like this, but I look like this. My professional life, I've had some great opportunities. My first career in social work, I got to work with poverty and underprivileged youth at the Utah Food Bank and the Asian Association. I served on a state school reform committee when I first started teaching, and I was on a gifted and talented committee for the district also. Presently, I commute about an hour to a low socioeconomic area just to help the underprivileged there. And I am presently pursuing a degree in instructional tech and all right, 3 levels of government control in public ed. NELP 6, 1, 6, 2, and 6, 3. What kinds of support do public schools receive? Local does have a school board that operates and tells us what to do. And the district operates and manages most things. The superintendent is our mediator between the two. And local has a lot of supports with technology, and they do communicate with us. In the state, they get us money, but they also, much like local, they delegate to districts. So what they do for us is they share power and decisions. The state establishes our standards, which are critical for us to know what we are supposed to be teaching and have some kind of uniformity. And they have an accountability system and oversight. The federal has compensatory funds for underprivileged, which is so important. And they're kind of the source. They inform us of what our quality of ed is like in the United States. They provide current research for teaching and learning and ideas. They are supposed to be aiding in school improvement efforts anywhere. I don't quite understand how that looks, though. How do they do that? I don't think I've seen a training from the federal government, but they do have lots of rules and regulations to help with equity and high need. Right here with the 10th Amendment, where states basically can have power, except for where there is something with harm, right? And Brown versus Brown, the civil rights, the bilingual ed started getting clarifying that any population that is not having an equal, fair, anything harmful is not equitable. So Title I gave compensation for funds for disabled, and there was gender equality in 72. So we had a bundle in 73 and 75. We have a free appropriate education, right? The Rehab Act that turned into IDA, basically. IDA is that Individuals with Disability Acts. I thought it was fascinating, actually. I really liked reading about it because it discussed kind of a success story. Like they looked at cultural, responsiveness. They looked at kids that had linguistic difficulties like ELL and determined by research that they weren't improving. They had limited success. So they got them back in the classroom and tried to serve them in other ways and are finding more success. And I think that's what is supposed to happen with our federal government. Continue on, and we have No Child Left Behind, which increased federal demands. And I wouldn't say that was really support, but most of the other rulings are trying to provide support, and you can choose to take the funds or not. So they're supposed to be support a free and appropriate access to education. They're supposed to be assessing and assisting. Then ultimately, we do still have this pull between the 14th Amendment and the 10th Amendment, where the government says you have to be able to have equity. You have to be able to have equal access and fair and appropriate education for everyone. So I summed it up here, rules of government support. I think that we can all say that there's funding coming from all sources, though different amounts, that there's evaluation from all sources as well. But is training happening? If you're evaluating, you sure the heck better be giving me training to help me do better. I don't know that I really see that. I would say that there is definitely federal and state advocacy and lawmaking that's happening, and advocacy for entities. There is research on the federal level mostly, but I think state also does some research as well. The federal government is in charge really of those extra funds that are tied to those regulations that they've put in place. The local government does the operation for us. Now, these are all supports, really. I mean, the state provides curriculum for us. So each of these in some form is a role of government support that helps us function, and we need all of them. So we have funds. So we're going to look at funds just a little bit. You can see I made a diagram so it's easy for you to see who has more, who has less as far as their contributions. State getting things from income tax, sales tax, and lotteries, while as property tax from businesses and homes is more what the local government does. And the point I wanted to make here really was simply that in the local government, because there is different affluence levels in the community, it's really can be very inequitable. It's not really fair. And we have a need for the federal government to help make that difference up, because there are businesses, way more businesses in like Draper than there are in Magna, where I work. And so we just don't have the money. Secondly, is that like in the state situation, they may have lottery money, but it doesn't really supplement the budget. They don't keep it. Not all governments are going to keep it in education. So to support us more and pat our wallets, pat our pockets, they just alleviate taxpayers. So because of that, the government is definitely, we need the federal government to help us when those inequities arise. So we're on to who's in charge. We have a bunch of different players in the local government. So I've typed them up here for you so you can see them easier. And what we need to say about them is here, volunteers, school boards, and local governments, as well as state are volunteers. But the others are paid. School community council is volunteers. And local definitely has the most power for public schools. Responsibilities. And if they aren't doing their job, boy, are the teachers and the schools hurting. If they don't give extra time to deal with COVID, boy, was it a hard fight. I know our district was really, really tough because we walked out Friday night not knowing what was going on when another district knew on Wednesday. But because our district didn't inform us and didn't make a decision promptly, then we walked in on Monday morning, had already done planning, and found out everything so late. It was pretty horrible. Who's in charge of state? Here is our key players. Again, the board of directors is a volunteer. And I think their roles are a little bit different. They could be more important, though. They can renege the power from the local government, and then they could be powerful as well. So who's in charge with the federal government? Federal government is all about access and excellence. They are so here are our key players. We have Dr. Miguel Cardona, the Department of Education. And I put these in because they both give money. The Department of Agriculture, the Department of Health and Family Human Services. But their main responsibility: support ed research, be the source for ongoing dialogue, raise awareness of the challenges and the quality of our national education. That is like so important. That's the example I gave, how they actually figured out some way better that we needed to be doing something. And how it gets to us, the little guys, I'm not really sure, but it's really important that they do good research and then get it to us. Ensure no student is denied the right to equal opportunity based solely on race, ethnicity, gender, disability. So we want to just clearly state that there is limitations to our federal government, and this is because there are consequences of the regulations, and they're not always good. Their testing accountability definitely didn't improve student learning. There's a hot topic of school choice and how it could or not, we have civil rights to consider there. So if it shifts an educator's focus too much off of student success and what we know is good for students and how we can improve, and just go to compliance because we're so worried about our, scores, then that's a problem. So being cognizant and watchful of overreach with the federal government, too removed to dictate details of local and state efforts to improve their schools. They're too removed. They shouldn't be dictating. So ultimately, we wanted to state what has more influence. So in each of these components of our standards, the NELP standards, what does government support do? Help. The hope is that gaining a quality education gives equal opportunity for a healthier, longer quality life with less divorce or children out of wedlock. A populace with jobs and social well-being will mean less people in crime institutions or living in poverty. That's our hope. So where do we go from here? Our standard correlation is: I gain knowledge about the historical and current laws and policies enacted to protect and assist students and adult educational learning and well-being in the U.S. I learned about all the roles of the government, their operations, their management, their communication. I did not know any of this stuff. I read about relationships and issues of support in governing bodies, and I understand the complexities of these regulations and the tension between them, and how important access and excellence is. The relevance is that each role plays an important part to support our schools, and that they all, management, the operations, the policies, they have lasting effects on our students and to adulthood, and for good or for bad. The reflection that I had was simply, I reflected on the local decisions of our district, who has so much power, and how it hurt so many teachers, and didn't want to listen until the teachers' teams are destroyed and everyone's just broken. So it's important to be involved in those board member decisions. I wondered what if federal funding could be attached to like teacher voices, like their input and involvement in decision making at local levels, and just see if that might do the trick, where all of a sudden the district would reach out and ask for teacher input and not give us just a survey that doesn't ask us the right questions. And maybe then we could get some improvements, because I know for a fact that we as teachers know our students, and we really do want to help them. And we have lots of solutions, but we just are never really asked. So, wonderful assignment. I really enjoyed it.